Hey, good afternoon. Dr. Mary Starr, the Total Wellness Doc, and we are here for another live Wednesday Wellness. I'm excited to be here with you. Let me just check and make sure that we're up. If you're joining us live, give me a little shout out that you can hear me okay. The audio is okay. Let me know in the comments. That would be great. Okay, so getting started. Yeah, here we are. Okay, I think I probably made a mistake because I went this way instead of this way, but anyway, we'll all be good. The information will be the same, and let me share this over to some of my private groups here. Here we go. And there we go. All right, so let's get started. Last week we talked a lot about what was making us sick with our lungs. We talked about supporting the lungs. We talked, I don't know if we particularly addressed asthma and different things like that, but I just feel that it's such a good time right now here in California. A lot of you are going to come off of the summer and go into the fall with the leaves, more mold, things like that. So it's just a great time to support. So you can watch that replay of that over on my YouTube channel, which I believe is Dr. Mary Starr, but we'll get that in a link to you. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to follow up a little bit from last week, and we're going to talk about some of these funny things that I have here. We're going to talk about what's making you sick, some of my experiences. But before we start, just want to remind you that I am not diagnosing, prescribing, or telling you what you have to do, but rather providing with you some information from the past 25 years that I have worked in health in some aspects, from interning in maternity, where I would help with deliveries, and working in laboratories, and of course all my years in chiropractic and natural wellness. So welcome to my friends and Brenda, another wellness awesome advocate and educator. Okay, so let's get started. This week we have a little sponsor, a couple of sponsors I want to give a shout out to. This awesome company here in California called Urban Remedy. They are just incredible people, incredible owner, and we got a bunch of these delicious chocolate banana. There's like chai with almond milk. They're so good for those of you who love like a good chocolate milkshake. It's really good. So I'll give you my review on this. They've given a bunch of these out to our firefighters here who are fighting fires, to churches, and to a bunch of my homeschool friend moms. So if you're in the California area, or you can actually place a order with them. So let's give them a great shout outs for Urban Remedy. Second shout out I want to give is to a amazing, incredible woman who works with essential oils. She's a wellness advocate, hands-on essential oil sharer, lover, Jeannie Poinier. Does a raindrop technique in Fulton, New York. I want to congratulate Jeannie for her many years of dedication and wellness advocacy. If you need what's called a raindrop technique, I might even teach it sometime on a Wellness Wednesday. We'll see if I can get someone to be a back for me. I need backs and feet for raindrop techniques. Beautiful essential oil technique that uses essential oils along the spine, and pressure techniques, and something called VitaFlex, similar to reflexology. So anyway, if you're in the Fulton, Central New York area, go see Jeannie Poinier. You can look her up here on Facebook. All right, so let's get started. So last week we talked about the lungs, and some of you came back and were asking me, well, my breathing has a lot to do with my sinuses and things like that. So some simple things we can do. This looks funny, right? This little, it's a steamer. That's what it is. My mother-in-law gave it to me years ago. And you simply put your hot water, almost boiling water here, and a couple of drops of your favorite, my Young Living essential oil, being RC, or peppermint is good to you, like one drop. And you just inhale, and it just really helps to open you up. I just feel so much more clear. I don't have to be congested to use something like this, but it just makes it really neat. But you can do this over just a bowl of water where you're just kind of put a towel over your head and do that as well. So something neat like this. But let's talk about this guy. This is not a teapot. Who knows what this is? Put this in the comments. Put your guess in the comments. What do you think it is? What do you think this guy is? Let's see. Give you a second. Who knows? I know we're a little delayed here. Okay. I'm seeing. Okay. What about you, Dr. Von Bergen? What do you think? Neti pot. That's right. Michelle for the win. This is called a neti pot. And if you know what it is, you probably used it before. But one of the things to understand, sometime I'll bring my little skeleton that shows, is that the sinuses, right, our airways, which help us speak, help our voice, all of those things, I mean, are all through here, back to the ears, through the head. Sinuses are all throughout our skull. But our airways, a lot of times, can have a buildup of not just mucus and snot, but literally things like fungus and dust and toxic things. And again, here, where there's a lot of smoke and the fires, you know, that can accumulate. How many of you have done a job outside, right? Raking the leaves, or thought, you know, maybe it was a little dusty, but didn't use any protection over your nose and mouth, and you go to blow your nose and there's all this dirt in your nose. How many of you have had that? That's true. You're literally breathing that in. And why we have like the nose hairs and everything here is to help to clean that out. But the neti pot can really help to clean out the sinuses and get some of that junk out of there. And I have heard horrific stories of sinus issues where people have gotten sinus surgery after sinus surgery after sinus surgery to no avail, right? They're not getting better. Why is that? And I really feel that, and I'll come back to this in a second, I really feel that has to comes back to a lot of things I talked about last week with the lungs about diet, nutrition, and what is living in the sinuses, right? What is living? So if we can't do that, in fact, do you know, women, that endometrial tissue, right? People who get endometriosis, endometrial tissue can actually live in the sinuses. Yes, that yucky stuff can be throughout the sinus. So Michelle says, I love my neti pot. When I get a head cold or my head is stuffed, I can get the neti out before I swell too much, and it reduces the swelling. I love it. That is awesome. So yes, the neti pot is something simple. There's lots of videos on how to use it. I'm not going to show you here, but simply warm water. It's a little bit of salt with that too, and it just helps to clean the sinuses out. And you're just simply pouring this and you're letting it flow up and down. It literally runs down, da-da-da-da-da-da, and then you push all that out from one side to the other. Now here's the secret, okay? This actually does feel really good. And again, my family being the guinea pigs of all that. So my son, especially my son, my daughter is just getting into it because my son will do it. But when my son gets congested, because of a time when he was really congested for several days, you know, that congestion in there, and he wanted to breathe, he wanted to feel better, and I showed him how to do it. We watched some videos. He's a visual person. He likes to see. We watched some videos on it. And he tried it. And although, because my kids have never really been super sick, like they've not had the runny noses and stuff, so I kind of forgot to teach them how to blow their nose well. You know, like I kind of missed that for about a decade. So when they get that congestion, they're not understanding that. So the neti pot actually was helpful to teach them how to blow their nose too. So my son would do it, and it, you know, it would come out and be gross and stuff, but he would feel better. And being that he would feel better later on, months or even a year later, when he would feel that congestion, he'd go grab the neti pot. And then he started to do it. He likes his privacy because he don't want people to see the snot running out or whatever. But, you know, we'll count. We'll be outside the door. Okay, 1, 2, 3, you know, to let it start to run. And it's very simple. Now my daughter will do it too. So it's just a neat tool to have to do that. Now, a lot of people say, can you, Dr. Mary, can you use essential oils in that? You can do your own research online about that. It's not that you put essential oils in the water, because that would be probably pretty irritating, but I've seen some people put essential oils in the salt, like a very diluted amount. Pure, again, Young Living essential oils, RC, things like that. So you can try that. I personally have done that maybe once or twice using the neti pot, but I am not doing that with my kids because they just feel better, and we can just use that RC in our steamer. We can use the RC on our feet and all of that. So that's sinuses. So I want to tell you another sinus story, and I may have brought this up in a previous video, but I'm going to share this again with you. So I had this client years ago, and she kept getting reoccurring sinus infections. Changed her diet, didn't help. You know, we're just looking for her. So one day she goes to the dentist, and she has a partial, right? So like a dentures and partial denture. And they found under the partial all this fungus, like a yeast. Some of you know it as thrush. You can get thrush in the mouth, especially if you've had a lot of antibiotics or immune system's very low. Babies can get it from a lot of breastfeeding and stuff like that, and that milk kind of staying there. They can get thrush, especially if they've had antibiotics. So she had this thrush that was basically going right up into the sinuses. How crazy is that? So when they got that cleaned out, her sinuses cleaned out, she felt so much better. Again, I've had other clients who've had serious sinus issues, and a simple change in their diet, getting the milk out, getting rid of the wine and the alcohol and the soda and the things that produce more yeast and fungus, adding things like Ninja Red, you know, our antioxidant drink, lots of water, you know, eliminating the sugars, and their sinuses improve. So all great things that you can do for sinus. I don't want to say to avoid sinus surgery, but I just, you know, feel that. But I don't feel, if you look at the statistics, that sinus surgery is necessary in all cases. Some people have like deviated symptoms and things like that where they need those things, but I think there's other things. And the number one, last two things that I'll share about sinuses again too, is the sinuses and the colon go hand in hand. If you don't have a clean colon, if you are not pooping regularly, if you haven't cleaned out the junk out of your colon, you're probably going to end up with more sinus and respiratory issues. It's just a given. Okay, I'm 20 years, 25 years. I know this from personal experience, from many, many, many clients that I've seen have this. The second thing that I think a lot of people overlook is the chiropractic adjustment. And that chiropractic adjustments, particularly neck and cranial adjustments, are phenomenal for the sinuses. So, so important. How many of you love like a good head rub, or when you feel like that headache coming on or that sinus pressure, you just love that good head rub? Where a great place that you can massage is behind the neck, right? Right at these two balls right here. And you can take your essential oils and rub that. You can just, oh, it's so good. In fact, let me show you this tool. Let me get this. That it looks funny. This is I even forgot what it is. One of my patients borrowed it, and her dog actually kind of ate it years ago, but I've had it for, gosh, almost 20 years. But this little thing, which you can mimic at home with a sock and 2 tennis balls, right? 2 tennis balls. You can mimic this at home, and it goes, again, just right on your head. Back here, you're going to lay on your spine, preferably on the floor, not a bed, not propped up on a pillow. And you're just going to be there for just like a minute or two. And you can look this up too, you know, maybe headaches, sinus support, because the sinuses, do you want the science about it? I'll share a little bit of the science with you. The sinuses are very much controlled by the parasympathetic, right? The part of our body called the vagus nerve. It helps us to relax, all of those things. And that nerve can be irritated by these muscles back there called the suboccipital muscles. And they can be super tight, especially if you have forward head carriage like this. You're sitting at the computer all day. Okay? So you can do things to help, and just a simple exercise, in fact, to help some of that sinus pressure or tension in your head. I'm going all over the place today, but this is good Wednesday wellness stuff. This is to just, look straight ahead and push your head back and hold it for 10 seconds. Actually, no pressure. Just hold that. Okay? Push your chin back, almost like make a double chin. And that's a really powerful. If you do it too much, it actually might irritate you a little bit, but you might be a little bit more sore, but it's very, very good. But I can't say enough about good chiropractic care for sinus relief. I remember my daughter being just a baby, maybe 1.5 years old, and getting congested, and I bring her to the chiropractor because, again, I am not adjusting patients every single day. I'm having babies. I'm out of touch of that. I would bring her to a chiropractor who was adjusting both kids and adults every single day, and she would clear up like that, within a day or so. It was like clockwork. Good chiropractic care, so important for your sinuses, for your lungs, for everything. Okay, so in my stories yesterday, we were talking about feeling better and looking for those things that might be making you sick. And we talked today a little bit about hidden things like yeast and fungus that can make you sick. But another big thing that could make you sick that we talked about was our pillows, and how we just don't think we're laying on our pillows all the time. And I was talking about it in terms of acne, because we're laying on our pillows. Maybe we're not washing our sheet. We're just not thinking, right? It's not an uncleanliness thing. We're just not thinking about these things, and how pillows get very old, and how there can just be a buildup of bacteria. In fact, I was talking to my daughter, my 7-year-old, today, because we were changing out the pillowcases, and she was saying I had an old Tempur-Pedic pillow. And I didn't know this when I first got into Tempur-Pedic. It's like that, kind of like that latexy, foamy thing, that there's a lot of chemicals in Tempur-Pedic beds, and there's a lot of research now that are not good, right? Not good. So we still have one of those pillows. We don't necessarily sleep on it every night. It's just more for back support and things like that. But I have colleagues that I work with that are very serious about getting rid of those. In fact, they feel that that has caused some, miscarriages. That's their belief. That's their theories. And there is some evidence out there that those kind of toxins are just really bad for you. So wanted to bring that up. So we always want to look for, when we get a diagnosis, when we are going down the road or getting some kind of label, whether it's asthma, cancer, whether it's MS, we want to look and see, okay, I am not that label, right? There is a cause. There's something that I've been exposed to. There's something that's happened in my life that is causing me dis-ease, right? Dis-ease. If I attach myself to that label, whether it's polycystic ovary disease, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, if I attach myself to that, then that's all I can see. That's all I can live, right? And many times, I'm going to tell you stories, probably you'll hear them over and over in these Wednesday Wellness, but many times that they might not be correct, right? They might not be correct. And I'll just tell you a quick story that I heard from a doctor when I was in chiropractic school. A young woman in her late teens was having terrible dizziness, headaches, dizziness, and her parents spent over $25,000 I think even the number was higher, of just out-of-pocket expenses for, they did everything, their MRIs and testings and all these things, and they could not figure it out. The poor girl was on many medications. They couldn't figure out what was going on for her. She went to this chiropractor's office. The chiropractor determined that she had a lot of trigger points in this muscle called the sternocleidoid mastoid muscle, or the SEM. She had a lot of that. They did a lot of stretching. They did trigger point release. They did a little bit of, the chiropractor knew a little bit of visual therapy. And do you know that in just a few sessions, after years of discomfort and actually being held back a grade, that this young woman found the answer, right? With a few $100s in chiropractic care. So sometimes the simplest answer is the right answer. But back to understanding our dis-ease and also not attaching to that. But first, let's talk about Maggie Sharon. She shared with us when I was talking about pillows and looking for those things that are possibly making us sick, right? So she shared with me, let me pull it up here. All right. She was sharing, we were talking about pillows. Okay, she said, another thing not related to pillows, but is the Yeti lids. And I think she's talking of like these little black things right here that we just don't think about. Also in our Magic Bullets or NutriBullets and things like that, there's these little kind of plastic things. My friend Crystal shared this with me as well, like that we just don't think about. We don't think to clean them. And many people forget about it and become a place where bacteria collects. Her relative kept getting sore throats and thinking it was, not thinking that it was her Yeti lid. She changed her toothbrushes, she soaked different things, and finally Maggie asked her to check it, and she lifted it up and there was all this like black, yuck, moldy junk, right? Once she cleaned that up, she no longer had sore throats. Amazing, right? My husband, sinus infection, fatigue, about almost, I would say about 6 months, he had some of these issues, and we would do this and that, and or I would suggest this and that. Nothing, but for a couple of years he had like a sty, like a little infection here. Then a few months ago it really got bad. His eyes would be swollen, just a lot. It was definitely an infection. Went to the doctors, got some antibiotics, cleared it up. Guess what? Hasn't had the fatigue, hasn't had so much of the sinus infections, all of that. Like, that little sty that he didn't think anything of, that he's had for years, and sometimes it would be bigger or lesser or whatever, but that, led to all of that infection. So what is making us sick? All of those things. So what are your questions? Let me know. I do have to close up here soon. What are some of your questions? We talked today a little bit about, again, supporting the sinuses. Last week we talked about supporting the lungs. We talked about supporting the sinuses with some of the things that we could use in terms of the neti pod and other things. We talked about some hidden areas where they could be making us sick. Things like bacteria in our mouth, right? An infected tooth. I had another client who had a terrible infected tooth and brought her to the level of almost sepsis. Well, she was septic and she was in the hospital, and she actually was at death's door. It was very, very sad and very traumatic and caused a lot of damage to her body. Thank God today she is healthy, she is happy, she is back. Through a lot of prayer and good stuff that she did. It's pretty amazing. But, all because she could let herself get run down, let her immune system get run down, had an infected tooth and stop taking the good nutrition and supplements that she regularly knew her body needed, right? And a lot of us will do that. We get stressed out. Our finances get stressed. And what's the first thing to go, right? What's the first thing to go? We won't cut out the kids' gymnastics. We won't cut out anything, but we'll cut out stuff for ourselves. Whether it's our Ninja Red, our antioxidant drink, our nutrition, our favorite yoga class or gym class that really gives us such good peace. What's the first thing we cut out? It's a lot of times ourselves, and we have to stop doing that. We have to fill up our cup. And so I want to feel better. I know you want to feel better. And I want you to just kind of take in these Wednesday Wellness and think about, what is it that I can do this week to help me feel better? First off, we talked about Jeannie Poinier and the raindrop technique. Can you go out? Can you make an appointment for some chiropractic care? Can you find someone to give you a raindrop technique or a massage? Can you make time for a good walk today, right? Can you go out and maybe talk with someone who can help you, like my friend Brenda who's on? I'm looking for my associates who are here with me, Janet as well. Can you talk with them and say, hey, I want to start feeling better. What's the first thing that I should do? What's the first nutritional supplement? Or what essential oil can help me really deal with stress right now? Any of those things could be very powerful for you and for your health. So I hopefully today was helpful for you. Each week we'll come up with different ideas and different tools and tips to help you stay healthy, to get healthy, to keep your immune system strong, to deal with all the stress that we have. You have an awesome day. Take some steps. Let me know what you're going to do this week. I'll let you know what I'm going to do this week in my Facebook stories. If you want to share this, make sure you are on our YouTube channel where we download these videos and keep them. We don't keep them on Facebook forever, about I think 3 days to a week, but then they're over at our YouTube channel. So subscribe to that, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.